The first thing that comes back is the sound. A bell, fractured and limping, tolling out of rhythm like something broken inside it. It doesn't ring, it stumbles. The noise crawls up the beams of the chapel and shakes the air. Smoke seeps from the cracks in the floorboards, bitter and sharp, smelling of coal and burned stone. The statues along the walls are black with soot. Their faces gone, their hands melted to stubs. The place feels alive, but it breathes through fire and ash. I'm standing in the center, my chest raw, my hands locked around my son's arms. Ethan's small frame shakes as I pull. He's screaming, but his voice is drowned by the grinding of wood and the scrape of chains. The figure has him. The warden's robe stretches like liquid shadow, wrapping around Ethan's torso, pulling him back into a mouth of darkness that opens where the altar used to be. My muscles tear as I pull. I don't feel strength anymore, just desperation, and the cold seeping into my wrists where the fabric touches me. The chapel shakes. Something deeper than stone moves under us, like the earth itself is shifting to watch. I can't see a face in the hood, only the black hollow and the echo of my own voice buried inside it. "Please, not my son!" The words tear my throat. They don't matter. The robe tightens. Ethan's nails claw at my skin, then at air, then at nothing. I hear the bell again, this time inside my skull. It's off by a beat, like a heart skipping the step before death. "You won't take him!" I pull harder, the floor cracking under my boots. Smoke rises in columns. The cross on the wall tilts and falls, splitting against stone. My body convulses with rage, but the strength isn't mine. It drains out of me as fast as I fight. And still the robe pulls Ethan backward, inch by inch. With patience older than me, older than any prayer I've ever known. So this is how it ends. The sound of my own laugh feels foreign, jagged. It cuts through the panic like glass. The warden doesn't answer. He doesn't need to. The answer is in the weight pressing against my ribs, the breath stolen from my lungs, the cold settling into my marrow. I feel the robe loosening from him, coiling around me instead, tasting the sweat on my skin. The chapel lights dim. My son's outline fades. I know what's happening before it finishes. And still, I don't let go. God damn it! Take me instead! I tried to fight him. And the price was me. But it didn't start here. It started days before, when I woke up in a hospital bed in Philadelphia. I remember the sound before I remember the pain. Gunfire, sharp and endless, echoing through the warehouse walls in South Philadelphia. My team moved in formation, boots breaking glass, rifles leveled. I was at the front. Captain Doyle's voice cracked in my ear, steady but loud. Jordan Cross on my left, Scott Tanner on my right. We were hunting a man with an automatic rifle who had already turned a city block into a morgue. We breached. The air was thick with dust and powder. I saw a flash. Too late. The impact threw me back, burning across my ribs, ripping through muscle. My weapon hit the ground first, then I followed. The rest is fragments. Shouting, muzzle flashes like strobe lights, then dark. When I came back, 5 days were gone. I opened my eyes in Penn Presbyterian Medical Center. The white light overhead was too bright. The machine beside me kept time with a beep I couldn't ignore. My chest felt split, but the world was still moving, as if nothing had changed. I thought I was safe. I thought this was just recovery. Julia was the first face I saw. She leaned over me, eyes red, hair tied back. She smiled, but it broke halfway. Ethan wasn't there, too young for this room. She held my hand and said words I don't fully remember. I nodded. I told myself I was fine. I told her I'd be home soon. You scared me, Corey. Don't do that again. I'm fine, just tired. It was a lie. I wasn't fine. But I needed her to believe it. The first days blurred. Nurses came and went. I kept hearing the doors slide open, the wheels of carts, the hiss of oxygen. I thought it was routine. I let it wash over me. The doctors said I was lucky, that the bullet missed the artery. I believed them. I needed to. Scott visited once, standing awkward by the bed. His smile didn't match his eyes. You'll be back in no time. Maybe. Not sure I want to. He didn't answer. He just stared at the bandage wrapped around my chest. Jordan came too, louder than anyone else, clapping me on the shoulder like nothing had happened. You don't get to leave me with rookies. Heal fast. I'll try. I laughed a little, but it hurt too much to continue. He stopped smiling when he heard the monitor spike. Nights were longer. I woke to the sound of the bell inside my head, faint, uneven. I told myself it was the machines. I told myself it was nothing, but it always came when the room was empty. The first real crack in the world was the man in the bed next to mine. He'd been recovering from heart surgery. He'd joked with the nurses earlier that day. He fell asleep. At 2 a.m., he stopped breathing. I watched the numbers fall on his monitor. I pressed the call button. By the time they rushed in, he was gone. No warning, no fight, just silence. But I swear I saw something in the corner. A shadow pressed against the wall, shaped like a man but not solid. A hood maybe. No face. Just the suggestion of a presence watching. When I blinked, it was gone. I told myself it was medication. I told myself I was dreaming. But the cold in the room stayed even after they covered the body. Detective Ramirez showed up the next morning. He wore a suit that didn't fit right, tie too tight, voice flat. He wanted details. He wanted to know what I'd seen in the warehouse before the bullet. He leaned close, eyes sharp. You remember who fired first? Does it matter? He's dead. I almost was. It always matters. Someone will want answers. I didn't give him more. I couldn't. I was too tired. He watched me for a long time, like he thought I was holding something back. Then he left, leaving the smell of cheap cologne and questions I didn't want to touch. Julia came again that evening with Ethan. They let him in for a few minutes, even though it wasn't allowed. He stood by the bed, small hands clutching a toy car. He didn't say much, just looked at me like I was already half gone. Dad, when are you coming home? Soon, I promise. The promise felt heavy in my mouth. I wasn't sure if I believed it. The days passed the same. Nurses, doctors, Julia, silence. But every night the same bell, always a little louder, always a little closer. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was in my head, but deep down I knew the world wasn't the same anymore. The bullet had taken something more than blood. The first time I dreamed of the chapel, I woke up gasping, the sheets soaked. I didn't tell anyone. I couldn't, because if I said it out loud, it would be real. On the fifth night, Julia had just left. The ward was quiet, lights dimmed. I lay awake, listening to the hum of the air vents, when I noticed the figure again. This time it wasn't in the corner. It was closer, almost by the foot of my bed. The hood bent slightly, like it was studying me. My chest locked. I blinked, and it was gone. The monitors didn't change. The nurses didn't notice. Only me. I kept quiet. No point sounding insane. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same curve of a hood, the same absence where a face should be. I wasn't sure if it was waiting, or if it was already inside me. By the end of the week, the doctors said I was stable. They talked about moving me to a quieter place to rest. I nodded. I didn't argue, because part of me wanted to get out of that hospital. The other part? The other part was already hearing the bell, even when the machines were silent. The mirror was the first to betray me. It hung on the far wall of my room, cheap glass with a metal frame, angled just enough so I could see the reflection of the door and the bed beside mine. I'd gotten used to checking it at night, a habit born from boredom more than fear. But one evening, it gave me something I wasn't ready to carry. Nurse Hannah Carter came in, rolling a cart with syringes. She smiled, asked the usual questions. I watched her reflection more than her body. That's when I noticed it. Her lips were moving, forming words, but no sound came out. In real life, she was speaking to me, asking how the pain was, whether I could sleep. In the glass, her mouth shaped sentences that never touched the air. The reflection wasn't in sync. The voice belonged only to the woman in the room, not the one in the mirror. I blinked hard. My chest tightened. When I looked again, both versions of her matched. She handed me a cup of water and walked out. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to. Because once you admit it, you can't take it back. The night dragged. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the corridor. Slow, deliberate, heavy on the tile. I expected to see the shape of a nurse or a guard through the glass window in the door. Nothing passed, just the sound. Walking closer, then fading, then returning. I pressed the call button. When the guard checked the cameras later, he shook his head. No one was out there. Maybe you dreamed it. I wasn't dreaming. I heard it. Well, the camera didn't. I didn't argue. I let him leave, but my hands were shaking. The bell rang faint inside me again, offbeat, pulling the silence apart. I told myself it was stress, the drugs, the memory of bullets. That's what they all said. PTSD, hallucinations, nothing more. The next day Jordan visited. He looked uneasy. He laughed, but it was short, hollow. You're turning pale. Maybe they're keeping you here too long. Maybe I should have stayed unconscious. Don't tempt me. I'll knock you out myself. I smiled, but it didn't last. When he left, I noticed his reflection in the mirror lingered 1 second too long. He turned the corner, but the glass still showed his back moving. Then it caught up. My throat locked, but I said nothing. That night another man died. Bed 3, across from me. I woke up to the hiss of oxygen stopping, the flat tone of the monitor screaming. I turned my head, and through the small pane of glass in the door I saw it. Just a glimpse. A dark robe sliding past. A hood bent low, almost brushing the window. No face. No skin. Just the shape of absence itself. By the time the nurses arrived, the man was gone. They worked on him, chest compressions, needles, shouting, but it didn't matter. He was already claimed. I lay there, pretending to be asleep, every hair on my body raised. The air smelled metallic, like blood on old coins. I thought of Ethan. I thought of Julia. My hand twitched toward the call button, then stopped. Who would believe me? Morning brought Dr. Jonathan Miles. He was calm, efficient, the type who thought reason fixed everything. He asked the usual questions. He leaned over his chart. Nightmares again? Not exactly. Hallucinations are common. Painkillers, trauma. Your mind is looking for patterns. I saw something. Then describe it. No, you'll write it down as shock or delusion. And maybe you're right. He closed the folder slowly. He didn't argue, but the silence said enough. He thought I was broken. Maybe I was. Julia called later. Her voice was steady, but I heard the fear under it. Ethan drew a picture. He said it's you, but with a hood. He doesn't know why. Don't show me, please. Corey, what's happening to us? I don't know.
I don't know. I hung up before she heard me cry. The machines filled the silence again. The bell came louder that night. It didn't come from inside me anymore. It came from the hallway, striking uneven against the tiles. I lay still, afraid to move. The mirror faced me. For a long time there was nothing. Then a shadow bled across the glass, as if someone walked between me and the reflection. But no one had. The room was empty. I pressed the button. The nurse came in, annoyed. You called again? Something's in here. There's no one. Try to sleep. She left. The shadow didn't. By dawn, I'd convinced myself I was unraveling. I wanted to believe it. Because if it wasn't me, then it was real. And if it was real, then everything I loved was already in danger. The next days blurred together. Little things stacked up. A crucifix on the wall tilted, though no one touched it. A tray of instruments rattled when the room was still. Once I woke to find the curtains pulled open, even though I remembered shutting them. I started to mark the time in scratches on the paper cup by my bed, desperate to measure the hours that dissolved. Jordan returned once more. He sat in the chair, his smile gone. You're seeing things, aren't you? Why would you say that? Because you look like a man waiting for a verdict. He leaned closer, whispered, I've heard about soldiers like you. Sometimes they never come back, even when they survive. I didn't answer. I didn't want to. He left before I could explain that it wasn't war chasing me, it was something else. On the 7th night, the figure came closer. Not through the window, not in the mirror. It stood at the foot of my bed. The hood bent down as if inspecting me. The machines didn't change, but the air thickened. My skin prickled with frost. I opened my mouth, but nothing came. Only the bell, hammering against bone. When the lights blinked back on, the bed beside me was empty again. Another patient gone, another file closed. The nurses whispered outside, voices muffled by fear. Dr. Miles entered the following morning, his tone lighter, too casual. You're recovering well. Your vitals are stable. I'd recommend a transfer, somewhere quieter, somewhere away from the city. Transfer? Why? You need rest, not alarms and sirens outside your window. There's a facility north, peaceful, fewer patients. Think of it as a retreat. And if I say no, then you stay here and keep calling the nurses at 3 a.m. But you won't heal that way. I didn't argue. Part of me wanted out. Out of the white walls, the mirror, the bell. Maybe distance could make me whole again. Maybe. I signed the paper with a shaky hand. I didn't look back at the man who'd died, or the empty bed where he used to breathe. I didn't want to, because I knew if I looked too long, I might see the hood again, waiting in the corner, patient as death itself. The facility was nothing like a hospital. They called it a retreat, a place for rest, a place where men like me could recover without the noise of the city. But the first time I saw the chapel, I knew it wasn't built for peace. It stood on a rise above the ghost town of Centralia, its foundations split by cracks that vented smoke from the coal fire still burning underground. The windows were black with soot. The bell tower leaned, frozen at an angle, as if even time had refused to. Inside smelled of damp wood and sulfur. Icons blackened by smoke hung on the walls. A cross leaned forward, its shadow broken against the stone floor. They said prayers here once, but now the place held only silence and the faint echo of something waiting. My first nights were quiet. I walked the corridors. I told myself the transfer was for healing. And maybe it was. The doctors smiled more here. softer voices, fewer needles. But the chapel never let me go. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the hood. Every time I woke, the bell rang once, off beat. On the third night, I sat alone in the pews. The air was heavy. I could hear the fire underground, a distant rumble like breath. Then he came. Not in the corner, not through the glass. He stepped out from the dark near the altar, the warden. The hood covered everything, but I felt his eyes. "What the hell are you?" The answer wasn't a voice at first. It was pressure, like cold hands pressed to my skull. Then words came, heavy, certain. "Once I was a man." That's bullshit. "I bled like you. I prayed like you. I fought like you. And I failed like you will." I wanted to run, but my body stayed nailed to the bench. My hands gripped the wood until splinters dug in. He kept talking, short sentences, measured. Each one pressed deeper than the last. "Every soul carries a number. When their number is called, I arrive. You saw me in the hospital. You tried to deny it, but you know I was there. You killed them." "No, I do not kill. I take. The moment is chosen before I arrive. I only carry it out." "God damn it, you stood there while they died!" The hood tilted. Silence stretched. Then a whisper so close, I thought it was inside me. "And what would you do if you could stop it?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came. Because I knew the answer. I'd do anything. I'd break the order of the world if it meant saving Julia or Ethan. I was offered the same. Save one, lose another. Balance must be kept. Always. My throat closed. The chapel tilted. His words bled into me, unstoppable. "Each time you pull a soul from me, the balance corrects itself. Not with a stranger, not with an enemy. With your own. The closer they are to you, the faster the exchange." I slammed my fist against the pew. "That's not balance, that's cruelty!" "It is law, and you already know it. You felt it when the man in bed 3 died. You heard it when your child drew the hood without knowing my name." I wanted to scream. I wanted to curse until the walls shook. But I sat frozen. His hood leaned closer, and for a moment I thought I saw a face beneath. My own, cracked like old glass. Then the doors slammed open. Father Lorenzo Bianchi stepped inside with Brother Marco Vitali behind him. Their faces were pale, their eyes set not on me, but on the figure at the altar. "He should not be here." The warden didn't move. The priests crossed themselves. "You've read of us, San Clemente, Rome. The records they hide beneath the stone. Names written, pages blackened. Each warden a man once, a soldier, a husband, a son." Marco whispered fast in Italian. I caught fragments. "Custos, mortis, keeper of death." Father Lorenzo's voice shook. "You cannot unmake it. The chain is older than our prayers. We only witness it." I turned on him. "You knew?" "You all knew, and you sent me here?" "We tried to warn you. We tried to keep you from the chapel, but it was too late. It always is." The warden spoke again, drowning him out. "You cannot save them all, but you will try. And each time you do, another part of you will break." I wanted to deny him, to call it madness, but then Lorenzo opened a small leather book from his robes. Pages brittle, edges burned, Latin scrawled across lines. Names in columns, each ending with a single mark, a black stroke like a wound. "These are the records," Lorenzo said softly. "Each warden is remembered here, each man who wore the hood. They came from battles, from prisons, from wars, and they all believed, at first, that they could resist. None of them did. So what, you just sit back and watch? We guard what little we can. We record. That is all we're allowed. That's insane! That's fucking insane! Marco looked at me then, his eyes wet, his voice a whisper. I prayed one would break the cycle. I prayed it would not pass again. But the law is stronger than prayer. The bell struck once overhead. My chest locked. I thought of Julia. I thought of Ethan. Then the doors opened again. Jordan Cross staggered in, pale, clutching his chest. He fell at the foot of the pew. His eyes rolled back. No sound, no time, just silence. I screamed his name. The warden didn't move. Lorenzo whispered a prayer. Marco hid his face. I knelt beside Jordan, shaking him. His skin was cold already. God damn it, Jordan, breathe! Nothing. No pulse. Just the shadow standing over him, patient, silent. The warden's hood turned back to me. You see, you cannot fight the list. It does not bend. It does not break. It only takes. I pressed my hands to my head. I wanted to deny it, but the truth sat heavy on Jordan's chest. I'd seen it with my own eyes, and still, some part of me whispered I could change it. That if I fought hard enough, maybe the chain would break. But deep down, I knew the law was already written. And now, Jordan Cross was the proof carved into stone. But the chapel wasn't done yet. It was only beginning to break. The first crack split the floor beneath the altar. Smoke rushed through it, thick and bitter, glowing red at the edges where the coal fires of Centralia burned far below. The chapel shook like a living thing. The bell overhead rang twice, then 3 times, each one offbeat, each one tearing into my skull. The statues lining the walls turned slowly, their faces twisting away from the altar as if ashamed to watch. Their shadows stretched too long, bending like bodies under a weight they couldn't carry. I tried to pull people out, the nurses, the other patients who had been sent here for their own healing. I grabbed arms, shoved shoulders, pushed them toward the doors, but each time one staggered free, another fell. Their throats clutched, their eyes rolled back. They dropped at my feet as if strings had been cut. Move! Get out! They screamed, they begged, but the air itself fought them, dragging them back, choking them until silence was all that remained. I pulled one man upright. His chest still moved. I thought I had saved him. Then I heard the sound behind me. Julia's voice. A scream that should have been miles away, but rang inside the chapel. I turned, and he was gone. His pulse was gone. My hands were empty. The hood watched from the altar, patient. More came. A nurse clutched the crucifix around her neck, whispering fast. Her voice broke. Sancte Michael, Archangel, defende nos in proelio. The floor split beneath her. Fire licked her gown. She vanished in smoke. The prayer cut in half. The bell rang again. The ceiling groaned. I looked up and saw the stained glass twist in its frame. The Virgin's painted eyes turned black. The panes shattered inward, glass raining like knives. Shards cut faces and arms, blood spraying across the pews. People slipped in it, screaming. The statues along the wall rotated further, their heads fully backwards, their stone mouths stretched in silent screams. They looked human, too human. One man tried to crawl under the pews, his legs kicked, blood trailing behind him. The wood snapped shut like jaws, crushing him flat. His scream cut off so fast it felt stolen. I could still see his fingers clawing the air. Then nothing. Silence. Jesus Christ, what is this? I staggered toward the pews. Scott Tanner appeared through the smoke, rifle clutched, face wild. Corey, what the fuck is happening? Don't stop! Keep firing at it! He raised his weapon, muzzle flash, splitting the smoke. Bullets tore into the robe.
For a moment I thought we had him, but each round punched through, ripping not shadow, not flesh, but something else. Shapes flared inside the smoke. My own face twisted, my own hands torn open. Every bullet passed through a version of me, a future that bled away before I could catch it. Scott screamed, his rifle jammed. The hood turned toward him. "No, no, stay with me!" I lunged, grabbing his vest. But he convulsed, eyes wide, gasping like he'd been drowned. Then nothing. His body sagged. His weight dragged down my arms. I shook him, screaming, but his skin was already cold. "You son of a bitch!" Captain Doyle's voice roared through the smoke. "Marshal, fall back! Fall the hell back!" I turned, saw him standing near the doorway, trying to gather the last of the team. His face was carved with fury. Then the smoke rose higher, wrapping around his legs. He fired into it, shouting, but the sound died too quickly. His voice cut off. When the smoke cleared, the doorway was empty. Only the echo of his command remained. The chapel groaned. The walls bulged. The ceiling split. Embers rained down like sparks from some great furnace. The stained glass shattered inward, raining knives of colored glass across the pews. The statues turned their heads, one by one, until every stone eye was fixed on me. A young patient stumbled forward, coughing blood, clutching my arm.
"Don't let me die here!"
I dragged him toward the door, my boots slipping on ash. His body grew heavier, colder. By the time I reached the threshold, his hand had gone limp. His head lolled back. Another taken. I dropped him, chest heaving. My throat was raw from smoke and screams. Then came Ramirez, or what I thought was Ramirez. His face blistered, his eyes black, his mouth opening too wide. "You think you can win this?" I blinked, and he was gone. Only smoke remained. The floor tore wider. Whole rows of pews dropped into glowing fissures, swallowed by the underground fire. Screams cascaded down, echoing from pits that had no end. The chapel was becoming a cage, every wall bending inward like ribs, every stone groaning as if alive. The crucifix above the altar melted, its arms drooping, metal dripping in red streams like blood. I lifted my rifle, my hands slick with blood and ash. I didn't care anymore. I aimed at the hood. "Come on! Come for me!" The trigger broke under my finger. The bullets tore into the altar. Each one struck an image of myself, flickering, screaming, breaking apart. Faces I barely recognized, some old, some young, all mine. The recoil slammed my shoulder. My throat ripped raw. But the hood did not move. I dropped the rifle, my hands shook. I pulled a grenade from my vest, yanked the pin, and hurled it forward. The blast tore the pews apart, flames splitting wood. For a second, I thought I had ended it. But the smoke pulled the fire in, swallowed it whole, and breathed it back out cold. The hood still stood. The robe reached for me. Julia's scream rang again. Ethan's voice followed it. "Dad, help me!" I spun. They weren't there, but their voices filled the chapel, bouncing off the stone, cutting through my chest. My knees buckled. I clawed the air. "Ethan, hold on! Don't let go!" Others screamed, dozens at once. Their voices wove together, a human choir of terror. Some shouted orders, others prayers. "Cover the left flank!" "Ave Maria, gratia plena." "It's pulling me under!" Each voice cut short in turn. The smoke swallowed them like a tide, leaving silence where life had been seconds before. I stumbled forward. The robe lashed out, striking my shoulder, burning cold through the bone. I dropped to one knee, teeth clamped so hard blood filled my mouth. I forced myself upright. I raised the rifle again, empty chamber clicking. I cursed, threw it aside, and pulled my knife.
You want me? Take me. The hood tilted. For the first time, it stepped closer. The robe swept across the floor, pulling the embers with it. My knife sank into the cloth. It cut nothing. The blade bent, screeching like metal against stone. My arm went numb. The robe slid across my chest, my ribs curling up my throat. I choked, clawing at it, but the fabric was ice and fire together. I looked up. The hood bent low, close enough I could feel the void inside it breathe. And then I saw it. Not nothing, not shadow. My face, hollowed, dead, waiting. God, it's me. The words left me like a final confession. The robe tightened, my body convulsed. Somewhere above, the bell tolled out of rhythm, shaking dust from the rafters. The chapel collapsed inward. The altar split in two. Flames gushed from the cracks, but the smoke devoured them before they reached the ceiling. Stone rained down. Still the hood pulled me closer, patient, unyielding. Others still screamed in the distance. I heard boots pounding the aisle, gunfire snapping. I thought I heard Ramirez's voice calling my name. But every shot was swallowed, every voice cut short. The smoke ate them one by one. The chapel wanted only me. It had already decided. A statue fell near me, face cracking, eyes crumbling to dust. I stumbled under its weight, barely rolling free. I gasped, coughing soot, staring up at the bell tower above. The bell was swinging on its own now. No rhythm, no order, crashing against its frame until cracks webbed through the stone. The sound was unbearable. It wasn't just a bell anymore. It was a heart, beating for the dead. Someone behind me whispered a prayer. Then another voice joined, then more. A chorus of pleading, desperate voices rose from those still alive. Pater noster, quies in caelis, sanctificetur nomen tuum. The smoke crushed them mid-sentence. Their words ended in choking silence. The sound cut through me worse than any scream. I thought of Ethan's hands, Julia's voice, the weight of Jordan and Scott, the silence where Doyle had stood, and I realized the truth. There was never a fight to win, only a role to inherit. The last thing I felt was the fabric sealing over my eyes, the cold of stone closing around my heart. Then nothing. Only the list. Only the law. I don't know how long it's been since the chapel fell in on itself. Time doesn't work the same way anymore. It feels suspended, stretched thin like smoke, but also heavy as stone pressing on my chest. I should be dead. I know I should. But death didn't take me. Something else did. There's a cold inside me now. Not the chill of winter or fever, but a metal cold, deep in my bones. Every movement feels like steel dragging against marrow. When I breathe, I hear it scrape. When I close my eyes, I hear the pages turning, as if some unseen hand is writing my name again and again. I walk hallways that don't belong to me. Places shift. Sometimes it's Centralia, the cracks glowing beneath my boots. Sometimes it's the hospital room in Philadelphia where I woke up after the raid. I stand there, looking at the bed where I once lay, listening to the machines breathe for me. And I feel a hand, always a hand, turning the pages of a book I can't see. A list being written, my voice inscribed in letters that burn and fade. I tried to fight him, and the price was me. The line plays in my head again, the same one that haunted me in the chapel. I can't unhear it. I can't undo it. The role has passed, and I'm wearing the robe now, whether I want to or not. The weight is unbearable, but it clings like skin. Sometimes I wonder if he wanted release all along. If he pulled me in because he knew I'd resist, knew I'd carry the fight long enough to finally take his place. That's the cruelty of it. The fight was the trap. I didn't inherit victory. I inherited duty.
I feel it when someone dies near me. The cold thickens. The sound comes, the bell, fractured, limping, tolling one beat off. I don't need to see the list. I know whose turn it is. The hand already flipped to their page. I wander, unseen but not invisible. They feel me. A nurse shivers when she enters a dark room. A patient stirs in sleep, muttering about a shadow in the corner. A man reaches for the call button but never makes it. The machine flatlines, and I'm already there. Standing at the foot of his bed, unseen but absolute. That's what I've become. The warden. I don't speak anymore, not out loud. Words are wasted on the living. But if I could, I'd tell them what I learned too late. I'd tell them there's no bargaining, no breaking the chain. The list doesn't stop. The names don't run out. And every time you think you can fight, it only digs deeper. The cold inside me shifts again, sharper, like a blade across the ribs. Somewhere another page is turning, another number is being called. And I feel my body move without command, carrying me where I'm needed, where I'm dreaded. I stop at a hospital I know well, Philadelphia, Penn Presbyterian. The smell of disinfectant, sharp and false. The dim glow of monitors. I step into a room. A man lies in bed, skin pale, chest rising slow. His wife is asleep in the chair beside him, her hand still gripping his wrist. He stirs, his eyes half open, and then they widen, because he sees me. He sees the robe, the hood, the hollow where my face used to be. He tries to speak, his lips form a plea, but no sound leaves his throat. I tried to fight him, and the price was me. Now the price is him. If one day you see me standing at the end of your room, don't pray, don't call out, don't even breathe, because by then it's already too late.